I don't do a lot of like penetration tip tests in my videos. This one, it does come down to a thinner point. It's not quite a false edge, but it is partially reduced and kind of like it almost looks like a distal taper all the way down. But anyways, I don't do a lot of tip tests, and I don't try to bend or break steel, whether it's my own or a test like this. I'd be really bummed if it snapped in the first place, and I just typically, if I'm piercing into something, I'm going to be as smart as I can in how I extract the blade. But I guess things happen, so people want to know, can it handle? And it actually seems pretty tough. I would say this doesn't feel any weaker than the F6, and the F6 has a more robust tip. Yeah, this is doing really good. I think it's got a more pronounced clip point. It's less broad than the F6, and so that's one thing I was a little bit concerned about, and it's just so slicey. But obviously, penetration was not an issue here. It still has the very, very, very edge and tip, the very acute point there. I think it's been done pretty well. Well, I would tell you it was the passing storm that's done me in, but I don't think that's true. I think it's my diet. I've done it to myself. Man, I feel out of shape. I hiked only, I don't know, 5 miles to get here. I was fishing a creek over here, up and down some hills for sure. Bushwhacking it most of the way, but I'm out of shape. So what I've been trying to do is a lot more blade content, going for hikes, going fishing, doing things in the real world instead of static range stuff. I still like the range. I'm still gonna have plenty of range videos on my channel, Gun Tote Minnesotan, but on my other channel, my blade channel, North Knives, you're gonna see a lot more blade content than I have been posting. This is the Reiff Knives Magna Cut version of the Vicon. And the Vicon is kind of a combination blade. It's a fighting blade. I'm gonna come in a little closer. Let's do this. It's a fighting blade, kind of a survival craft blade, a little bit of bushcraft. I think it kind of fits all those designations, mostly because it's got a very ergonomic handle. It's pretty thick, robust. It does have some of the contours that you see in some similar style fighting knives, as well as survival knives. And you know, it's in Magna Cut. It's in a very good quality Magna Cut. Huge fan of Reiff knives and American-made blades in general. So I don't do a lot of this anymore on my channel, but there's still some value in seeing it done. To be quite frank, I just spent a good part of the day with just using this blade to clear the brush ahead of me because I was bushwhacking it through buckthorn and just all sorts of trespass, and using just the Vicon to do it. And at one point, I thought I had chipped out the edge. I thought I had chipped this thing out. So I was looking at it and I was like, oh no, it's all wavy. And it turned out it was just the really hard wood sticking to the edge. And I brushed it off like that, went back, and the edge is still fantastic. And I've been chopping buckthorn with this like mad, like just constantly chopping limbs. I was chopping through buckthorn trees like this to make myself a little bit of a trail, which takes a long time. The F6 would have done it faster. The F3 or the F4 would have done it slower. So it's, you know, right in the middle for sure. But it's an awesome blade. Very comfortable. And you know what? My hand is not fatigued. I was curious if this would be more of a tactical grip and it might fatigue my hand, but I've been chopping with this thing. Like I said, I've been hiking for hours and my hand is not sore. It's noticeably not sore. I'm really happy to say that. So can it chop? Yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely chops. It's not as weight forward as the F6. So the F6 is going to be a little bit better chopper, and everybody understands why, I'm sure. The handle, though, the ergonomics are not problematic for me, including that little tail hook there. This little, there we go. this little pommel kind of device, impact device with a lanyard hole. This part of your exposed tang, I thought, well, maybe that'll get after me when I use it for a while. It really doesn't. It's actually a pretty effective tool, and the handle's long enough to keep my palm away from the impacts. And it can do, I probably would try some walnuts with it when I get home. Black walnuts are real hard to crush, but I'll probably try some black walnuts with it and just see how the handle scales hold up and how the tang actually effectively crushes those things. There's other ways you can do it. If the black walnut is not super hard, you can put your blade sideways and smash them or hit them with a stick like that and just use the steel. You're just more likely to break a blade doing something like that than you are like this. The tensile strength and the structure of the steel, this is more fragile to whack on it this way than it is this way, or to baton, or to hit it this way. So just random thoughts I'm having as I'm working with this. Material removal with this blade, I'll come in a little closer again. As far as material removal goes, or feather sticks, it's very good. Let's make sure I'm focused. I was surprised how good this can remove material, and I think part of that was I was looking at the thickness behind the spine, and I thought, well, this one's just going to be more of a fighting knife, maybe kind of a brute survival knife. Nope, it can finesse. It can do crazy thin feathers. I'm doing very thin feathers right now. I hope, oh, you cannot see that. All right, let's try it back here. I can do crazy thin feathers. These are like hairs. I suppose they're like feathers. It does not have trouble doing very delicate work. It doesn't have trouble doing a lot of the bushcraft stuff that I thought it would. Like chest lever, I thought chest lever would be uncomfortable, but because it has a rounded, I forget what you call the very end of the blade, but on the butt of the blade, it's rounded down here on the handle. And that part rolls really nicely for bushcraft tasks. And this thing bites. I mean, it bites really good. I'm surprised. Not quite as good as a Scandi. Then again, I have not yet tried a Reiff Knives version of a Scandi. Now, if I had known I was going to do as much chopping as I was today to get out here, I probably would have put a lanyard on just for safety. So I don't have a full safety kit with me or first aid kit with me. My IFAK, I usually take a portion of it with me when I come do something like this because it's just a lot of work to hike out this far with a big bag. Still very sharp. Oh yeah, that's still very sharp. Let's keep going. If somebody was to ask me what my preference in a sheath would be for a belt carry sheath and a fixed blade like this that has the kind of thought behind it or intended use, I would say something very close to this, if not exactly this. This sheath has excellent retention. It does snap into place really well. You can probably even hear that with my microphone on. Snaps right in. You can see this hilt or finger guard actually gives a really nice definition for a snap in. It does hold it upside down. That's not an issue for me, and it won't be because I don't carry blades upside down. I have no need to do that ever. You have a tensioning pin on this portion right here, so it kind of separates. You've got a rubber, I don't know what you call that, but a rubber spacer in there that you tension against to get the fit that you want. So this is completely customizable as far as I'm concerned. That if you want it looser and you want it just to slip in and out and be quiet, that's fine. If you want it so rock solid that you could carry it upside down and with confidence, I suppose you could tighten that guy down and this thing would be, rock solid in there. I already think it's pretty good from the factory the way it came. You have 4 Allens here that are going to hold on and also have those rubber spacers in there to grab against and provide pressure so that the hardware doesn't loosen up. And the sheath itself is not a huge footprint. It's actually kind of small. Considering this isn't a fold over, a pancake sheath like this, or a two-parted, two-piece sheath like this usually has a bigger footprint. This one is not big at all. If you just compare, just enough to get some lashing points, some extra rivets, and you know, a couple options there. You could switch this belt clip around to different orientations as well, which is useful. I don't do that very often anymore, but I used to do it a lot. And if I'm going to hook it up on a bag, sometimes I actually do want the option to take this off or switch it around, which you can definitely do with this sheath. High quality sheath. Looks like everything has been deburred. It's got a nice drainage hole on the end. And when it comes to the actual clip, you can see that it's like Kydex. It's a rollover with a little belt catcher there. So when you pull up on it, as long as you have some sort of medium thickness belt, it's going to catch that and be just fine. I actually can wear it on a pocket pretty often, and it even works on my pocket. And this whole thing is removable. This back strap is removable. You can take this and customize it in a lot of ways. You could take this off and throw a tech lock on this and not interfere with your sheath. Or you could take this all off. You could throw a tech lock down here using those existing rivet holes and do it that way. There's just a lot of options here, guys. You could even possibly pocket carry this, front pocket carry, if that was your thing, with an ulti clip in the front or some loops in the back. I'm just telling you, this has pretty much everything that anyone would ever ask for. Very well done on the sheath, and I would expect nothing less from Reiff because all of their sheaths have been top notch. Let's do a little notch work. Notches do test a few things, like how well you can press cut into wood. I don't only use blades like this for wood. I've cut some industrial strength zip ties. I've broken down boxes with it. I think you've probably seen some of that in the video at some point, or you will. But it's always got to be able to do a little bit of wood, because a blade that's on me has to have some potential to do basic things. Like if I get caught in a storm and I decide to set up my tarp, I need to know that the blade that's on me can do a basic notch to hold down a tent peg. And yes, there are such things as blades that almost can't do it. I was using a really thin, almost kitchen utility style blade a while ago from Spyderco, and it's an awesome blade for fishing and kitchen utility, that sort of place. But, and this isn't ragging on Spyderco, I'm just saying the blade was not comfortable at all. It was not functional at all for the kind of thing I'm doing now. What I'm doing right now, I needed a slightly more comfortable handle, probably a better choice in steel, to be honest with you, and then better ergonomics overall, as well as blade profile was just not right with that other blade. And that's not a rag or a diss against Spyderco. I'm just saying the blade that's with me has to be able to do that project well. So that knife is kind of relegated to the kitchen now, while this one is in my hand or in my pocket or on my bag. Yeah, this is easy. I'm not struggling with anything. It almost feels like a woodscraft knife because this handle, it's almost like it's broken in. I think initially there was just a touch more of an aggressive feel to it. But I mean, just like the first few outings. And now that I've got several days on it, it's rained on it, it's gotten muddy, I've washed it off quite a bit. Now it's taken this really soft, comfortable, but somehow tactile grip. And the way that the lines are cut, for some reason, it's just very comfortable. And look at my hand. My hand is not all beat up. It's not all swollen. This blade has really great control. That's maybe one advantage it's going to have over the F6, is it's just a little shorter. It's more easy to wield. It does have a different grind to it. And even though it's thick, I can still get out feathers that would catch a spark really well if the humidity wasn't quite so high. But just bite. It can bite deep. It definitely bites deep. It's not a Scandi, but like I said earlier, I don't think it's that far off. Telling the difference between this and a Scandi, I suppose the Scandi I would probably feel less pressure to get in there, but this doesn't feel bad at all because of the ergonomics of the handle and the thinness of that profile towards the edge. Edge thickness is really good on this one. I find myself grabbing the blade kind of like this, where I'm basically pinching that hilt, that finger guard. I'm getting as close as I can to the edge, but I don't need to. I could be back here. I just get a little extra comfort, I suppose, when I can grab onto something more. And since this is so broad, I can get my finger up there, and it's very controllable like that. I'm not worried about slipping forward. One thing I think a few people appreciate is that sharpening choil that's cut in. It's not huge, it's not tiny. I think this will actually satisfy the majority of people's opinions out there, whether they want a sharpening choil or not. I'm in the not category. I just want the blade to run all the way back rather. But a lot of people do like a sharpening choil, but most of us don't prefer a full finger groove sharpening choil. It's just too much. And so this one is right in the middle. I think it did a good job. The weight saving, some people call it a blood groove, the weight saving cuts in there are aesthetically pretty neat, and they haven't been filling up with gunk. They're not so concave with a lip. Seems like stuff falls out of there. Moisture has fallen out of there easy enough, which is another probably prerequisite to me having a blade with, quote unquote blood grooves in it. I need to have it so it's not real sharp. It's got smooth transitions so it doesn't catch wood and keep junk or bacteria in there. Easy to clean out. And same thing is true with the jimping. Let's talk about the handle for a second. So this is what it looks like inside of XL size hands. I wear XL size gloves. I could probably go up to 2XL sometimes. I'm right in the middle. But this is what it looks like. It's completely comfortable. My fingers are not binding up into my palm. Most knives, my fingers are going to bind up in the palm, but this one, it's not an issue. This blade is actually just a touch, if I can get it here, it's just a touch blade heavy, only by about a 1/4 inch maybe, 1/2 inch at the most, blade heavy. That makes sense to me because of how much material is up front. And the handle itself, it feels still pretty agile in the hand. A big, heavy, front heavy blade typically doesn't feel as agile in the hand. Whether you're making cuts, you're slicing things, I suppose if you're fighting with it, you want a more agile blade. And this one definitely is. It doesn't feel like some of the big front heavy blades I've used in the past, or choppers, that sort of thing, even though it's thick. So there it is in the hand. A couple different grips. Essentially, it's comfortable in all the grips that I've tried. Actually, it is. I can't think of anything problematic here. It's almost like it's perfect for my hand size. By a comparison, I don't always do comparisons, but I'll do one on my fishing knife. This is a Cypress Creek Custom. I believe this is a one-off. I'm not sure that he's making any others like this, so please don't ask him for that. But this one-off with yellow liners, really neat blade, S90V, has a less broad handle. And one of the things a company has to do if they want to get away with a more ergonomic knife is make it a little bit more broom handly and then thicker. Like this has quite a thick tang to it. And this one, my fingers are going to bind up a little bit. I'm not, again, complaining about this. I use this for fishing. So it's got a specific task. But it can still do the minimal tasks that I need a blade to do if it's going to be on my side. So the Cypress Creek, compared to the Reiff knives, you can tell the Reiff knives has a longer handle. It has a slightly thicker handle. Because of the different swells there, it's probably just a better handle in general for longer periods of use. And it's got more features to it, like the pommel and the finger guard, where that's not really present on this blade. Just something I had on me for comparison, not really an intentional deal. Still a nice knife, but this is not going to be replaced by a blade like this. All right, next I'm going to process this watermelon, kind of a smaller size watermelon with a Vicon. I think in previous videos I have used my F6 or something like that. There's a little size comparison. And here's the Vicon. for comparison, just a touch smaller, more compact. And I'm going to run this through. Which way do I want to do it? Should I do it the hard way? Let's do it the hard way. There's a right way to process a watermelon, and this is not going to be it. This is mostly trying out the blade, and food processing is probably not the primary intention of a fighting blade, but for me, any practical knife needs to be able to do some basic things like this, and even what I'm doing now will tell me something about the blade and its capability to do regular tasks as well as that fighting kind of stuff that some people envision. And then I'll slice out the usable portions after that. Now it is a pretty thick blade, so slicing through this, it does wedge a little bit. I don't think it's too bad. It's not destroying this thing. It's all pretty much intact and usable. It's actually a little more doable than I thought. Obviously a very thin blade, a normal kitchen blade, or a pumpkin and watermelon specific blade would do better. This isn't doing half bad. Especially considering how thick this is and what the actual intended design is for a blade like this. If it was any longer, I think with the thickness, it'd be a little weird, maybe a little unwieldy. But at the length that it is, it's perfectly fine. No issues at all really using it like this. It's hard to tell the difference between this and an actual knife designed for the task. Now when I was testing out the Circadian, obviously it's awesome blade. It's the same steel, but the reach isn't the same. It is nice and thin. This one has a belly. So when I'm cutting through things, very often the tip is not quite going to be the part that articulates or cuts through unless I'm piercing through. So sliciness still matters, and it has to be thin enough behind the edge that I can get a good slice. And I can get really thin slices, it looks like. Oh yeah, very, very thin slices. I'm not going to do much of this, but I will do some, because toughness does matter with a product like this to a lot of people. Go through the knot just fine. It's actually a nice clean split. This did not wedge horribly to the point where, like with a flat grind, where it just kind of slips in and gets stuck. It didn't do that. It kind of pushes it out on the shoulders, which is exactly what you would need and want. So it has some of that feature already built into it. We'll go ahead and finish it off. And down to kindling. Do a few feathers with it, even if that's not the sole intended purpose of the blade. Each blade should be able to do something like that if your skills are there. Okay. Yep, this one does nice thin curls really well. Can do straight pushes and get rolling barrels with it just fine. Change my angle. Let's see if I can do some of the long spindly kind, no problems. Does those just as well. So those long spindly kind really are nice for getting something to take flame in the first place. Getting a nice bundle of those usually will take a spark from a fire steel really well. This is a really sharp knife, if I didn't mention that already. Very sharp.
All right, I'll finish off with some of the specs. So the overall length is going to be 10.02 inches. Blade length is 5.19 inches. The blade width is 1.37 inches. Blade thickness is 3/16 of an inch. Very robust. Blade material is CPM Magna cut with a hardness of 60 to 62 HRC. I have a clip point, which is a plain edge here with a saber flat grind, or a flat saber grind, as what you'll see on the website. Stonewash finish. Handle length is going to be 5.02 inches. Handle width is 1.17 inches. I really like that feature. Handle thickness is 0.95 inches. Very few brands are going to give you a handle that is made that well and ergonomically, in my opinion, with those kind of specs. Handle material was black canvas micarta. The weight is 9 ounces. Comes with a black Kydex sheath, which is technically kind of ambidextrous if you switch stuff around. It is called the Vicon, made in the USA. Fantastic company. Cannot recommend this blade well enough. It really surprised me, and I think this is a good crossover blade for a lot of people.